Green
This
Druid, the
is,
Forest Dark.
The Forest Dark.
The Forest Dark. Let's do this shit. It's anticlimactic. Where's the thing again, babe? Where'd it go? Is it this one?
Yeah.
Okay. The Forest Dark, bitches. Let's do it. Build up, baby. Building up all that shit.
What'd you think of that?
Wow.
Holy smoke! I go ahead, start.
Well, I thought it was incredible, like what they did with the vocals, and the way that it came in. I'm not sure what you were gonna say, but I loved when they came in with, obviously because it was a story. When it got into the part where like the person was being chased, and then a black leopard, dark as the night, a lion of gold, but then it says their fangs were ready, and then they don't end up getting killed, but instead. We are the mothers, that part. We are the mothers of kings long dead. We see the future where no man will tread. That whole part, the way that they performed that part was, it felt deep and eerie and creepy, but hopeful. And I don't know, it was very interesting. Everything that they compiled into that vocal style.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the things I love about the vocal style for this particular album. Like, they've got 2 other albums that they've done, and this one is just it has so much attention to adjusting both the vocals as well as the other instruments based on what is being said at the time and the changing of perspective. So like, it starts out as someone living in the modern, industrialized world in a city, with concrete and walls, and they're in their bed, they're sleeping, and they wake up in a forested world, dealing with elements of nature. And the vocals are clean, and they're very almost angelic in a way.
Yeah.
The way they contrast with the heavier music.
Yeah.
And and then it plays out this story, and approached by a black leopard as dark as the night, and a lion of gold wise and old, a silver she-wolf swift as the wind, and they're speaking to the person about what is to come. The way it seems to me, what is to come of the future if I'm guessing, like, man doesn't change its ways, and how Gaia is being threatened and is in pain, and they're like spirits of what came before and what has seen the progress of man and what effect it's had on Earth. And so their speaking is in a different kind of vocal, or it's a different kind of vocals, and what they're conveying is like an urgent and kind of menacing message, but not threatening the recipient of the message, more just trying to give that sense of urgency, and you need to change things. So it's really impressive, the shifting of the both the music and the vocals to convey these different perspectives.
Right, because they said if nothing is done, no one will survive. So it wasn't like no one's going to survive regardless. There's a sort of like a prompt to change. Like, change can happen, and that can make probably, which is what's making their voices come through at that point in time. I was looking around on Facebook, and somebody had posted this man who was holding a 3-month-old donkey, and the donkey, I guess, had gotten really sick, and then they brought him to the vet. The donkey didn't make it, and it turned out that the donkey had swallowed a balloon. And so they were saying, please, like, people, stop putting up balloons as a memorial to people. Like, they don't make it to heaven. The balloons don't go to heaven. Like, they don't. This is science. They're going to pop, and they're going to come down, and then a little animal's going to eat them.
Or they're going to deflate. You know what I'm saying? Right,
deflate or whatever. Either way, they're going to land where animals can get them. And he said, like, in her little 3 months, she had her wrapped right around the little hoof. He was like, I was wrapped around the little hoof. I was so sad about that, and I was like, it's so true. People need to stop doing that. Like, set off. We knew somebody that put off butterflies, or and you could see a sense of resurrection from that. The butterfly goes in and into the chrysalis and then comes out. So there's like a sort of resurrection. You could see that would be great to have as part of a memorial. But like throwing up balloons that animals are going to die from. But it kind of reminded me of that when it was it like where it said the trees used to sing, but now they lie silent. Like, if we keep doing destructive things, Gaia is dying. So we have to.
Well, the girl or the protagonist kind of ends up being a stand-in for all humanity, because it says this should be your final breath, but there's been too much death. So it's basically, that tells you that whatever they're about to say next is like, your life is on the line, but they want to have mercy, right? And so then it talks about what they should say is, you fucking humans, you destroyed everything, you make everything horrible. But they were it was kind of a redemptive thing, like if this doesn't change X and Y, Z, things going to happen. So the whole thing was set up because she was shown mercy. This should be your final breath, but we're going to show you some mercy, and then they give this message basically to all humanity. So that them sparing her life was kind of like a giant metaphor of whatever you believe. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've got extra time to try to reverse course here.
Yep.
And I thought I actually thought that was really strong lyric writing, actually, to be honest with you.
It's more the middle part that bothers me. Kind of the way they set up. Their fangs were ready to tear me apart. Their claws were sharp as a perfect knife.
Yeah.
I braced myself to feel their bite, but instead they spoke to me. And so it's just the way that those lyrics flow. Those always are jarring to me and kind of take me out of the mood when I notice them. So that's where I think the lyrics aren't very strong.
Right.
But everywhere else in the song, the lyrics are actually pretty, they flow well through the rest of the song, just not in that part.
Yep. Oh, I agree with that. That it was a brilliant literary setup where the protagonist ends up being basically like a stand-in for all of humanity, and that, and it was kind of like a DMT type of situation, right? Like where you meet these spirit beings who take on, they take on sort of shapes and things that you can relate to,
right?
And then they communicate something to you that's very, very true. You know what I'm saying? And you see this in the Bible, like, oh, there's talking animals, whatever. It's like, yeah, that's not really the point. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, like, there's a reason a lion was chosen, a wolf was chosen, etc. There's a reason for that. And then, it said, our Gaia is dying. But the way they did the melody, you said angelic. Yeah, it was like, it's very ethereal, very spiritual. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, and I was not expecting the second. And she did great with the vocals, but musically, what they did when they moved into the melodic vocals was also really top notch. I talked about this yesterday in one of the songs. And no disrespect to the previous, other bands or whatever, but I talked about how Tool does a very good job at, you start off at one tempo and then at the end of it you're completely somewhere else and you didn't know that happened.
Yeah.
And this band was like that as well. Like,
really?
I caught the vocal change.
Oh yeah.
But the instrumental change was very well done.
Okay, yeah.
Like, you didn't know what they were doing instrumentally until it was too late. Like, the guitars got really melodic, because at first it was very doomy, kind of jazzy doom, and then all of a sudden it got extremely melodic and beautiful. But you were so distracted by the vocalist that you didn't see what the musicians were doing, and I thought that was was brilliant.
Yeah, you're completely right.
Sarcast says, Vin said Tool and Z yawned. No coincidence. The yawn was not expected, and I don't think it was Tool induced, though I am notorious for not being a fan of Tool.
What'd you say? Overrated? How dare you? So
you
Z
brought up Tool in a reaction that I'm on. I'm offended.
What did he say? How dare you?
How dare you?
His praise part.
Like I say, how dare you?
How dare you? How dare you? How dare you say I'm a bully? How dare you? Yeah, holy shit. I really, really like this song. Like, okay, when at first, I'm not a doom metal fan.
Right.
So like, but the guitars were kind of like, they were very like grinding, almost like exhaust at the beginning.
Oh, I agree.
And then when it switched into the melodic thing, it's a really, really, really good contrast. Really good contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and they've got a lot of like, I like how they're like, so doom is sort of their main theme, but they're incorporating so many different elements that like one song can just vary greatly. So you've got, it's very doom in the beginning, and then it gets to be very sludgy and almost like almost like hardcore kind of breakdowns in a way, but slower. So they're very heavy, sludgy kind of sounds. And then it gets into a more up tempo and more aggressive kind of style, but still with the doomy feeling. And they've have a lot of variation in it, which to me makes the song very interesting. Part of the reason why I know, well, on the record, a lot of people have heard that I'm not into doom so much, but that's more just like your stereotypical kind of doom. So like your Earth, your stuff like that. It's like things that are trying to recreate what Black Sabbath did, and trying to just kind of rehash that. And there's so much of that I just, to me, it kind of gets boring, especially when it's the same thing sort of end to end. But I like a lot of modern doom that goes and just fuses all these different elements, and the songs are longer and they change a lot. So like
Right.
Primitive Man does a lot of this, where they're just incorporating all these different elements, and the song will change so dramatically from minute 1 to like minute 9. So these long songs with so many different changes in them. And to me, that makes it just so much more interesting, because even if you've listened to the song many times over, the variation is still a pleasant change that gets you, like, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who prefer like a steady mood for a song, but for some reason, for me, with something like Doom that's kind of heavier and gloomier sounding, having the variation there makes it so much more intriguing for me, and it kind of almost feels like going on an adventure.
Yeah.
100%. Like, like this, the slow like, I'm a big believer in being patient with music. Pop music is like, oh, it's 3 minutes, you're in and you're out. Verse, chorus, verse, middle, bridge, we're out. So, but I feel like sometimes you can swing the other way. It's like, okay, I'm being very patient, and you're still playing the same fucking chord at the same tempo, and we're on minute 14.
Yeah.
Like that, I can't rock with. This was like, to me, the sweet spot. It was almost like the slow doom was like making a foundation for something, and then the other shit they were building on the foundation.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So like, I'm cool with like laying that as a foundation, but you nobody wants concrete windows, man. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want concrete in the foundation. I don't want the windows.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I thought they did a good job at this. If this was Doom, then I would be a Doom fan.
Do I typically like Doom?
No, not like pure Doom.
Because I like the sort of...
Yeah.
I like that, but I don't know if I liked it in this because it had... First of all, that was female vocals, right, Zonia?
Yes. Yeah.
Was there a dude at the end, though?
I don't know if they were singing at the time, but there is one of the other musicians occasionally does backing or separate vocals. But I think they're only featured a couple times on this album.
Yeah, he was kind of like a background guy. Yeah, but go ahead.
Well, I liked having the female vocals mixed in with the Doom. To me...
That's a good point.
I felt like that kind of... That made it... I enjoyed this form of Doom, but I wasn't sure. Like, I couldn't have told if somebody would have said, "Oh no, you always love Doom." I would have been like, "Okay," but it really, I think, depends on the vocal style for me.
You've never
like, if it's going to be some trash vocal. Well, in my opinion, trash vocals, then I'm not really going to like it. But that was pretty, and I liked that it kept changing it as you were kind of going through this story, and the story was a little bit like different than I expected. Also, I felt like that the song kept changing, like. I don't know. It felt like it just kept changing as it was going, and it felt a little disjointed in a good way. I don't know how to explain that. Mm-hmm. But like the way that the different pieces transitioned, almost like, you know what it made me think of was a kaleidoscope. You know how a kaleidoscope has all those little individual pieces, but when you twist it, they all fold in together.
Yeah.
But they were individual ones that didn't look like they were going to fold in together, but as you started twisting, they all did. And that's what the song kind of reminded me of.
Yeah,
well,
that's a good call.
There's a visualizer for that particular song, and a lot of the visualizer is actually kaleidoscopic effects. And so that's really interesting that you brought that up. Yeah.
I wish we would have had that visualizer.
Damn it!
What's funny is the first time that I really got into this album. So the first time I heard it, I heard the song with the visualizer. So for me, it was immediately influencing me because I saw it with the kaleidoscopic effects. But I would listen to this song sometimes. So when that first came out, that song was what was released and the album wasn't released yet. So I pre-ordered the album. But for a good like 3 months, the album hadn't been released. So I just had that one song. And I used to listen to that song when I would go to bed, and I would just play it and close my eyes and lie down. And the kaleidoscopic effects would I would just imagine them, and they'd kind of be overwhelming. It was almost like a
Cool.
hallucinogenic effect kind of thing when I was going to sleep. And especially the point where there's the pitch bending of those drop tuned, there's it's doing the repetitive like breakdown over and over again, and it's pitch bended and it has a phaser effect on it. And like that point right there is sort of like the confluence of the kaleidoscopic effect in my own head. So every time I hear it, I think of that.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, I was listening to Rogan, and he was talking about there are some people who have DMT like trips without using DMT, just doing heavy meditation. And
I've definitely had that experience.
So have I.
Yeah, and that's one of my theories about DMT is that it's a shortcut. But we have DMT in our bodies, et cetera, and I don't know what the science is between focus and sound, because even when you're seeing these DMT ceremonies, there's still music happening. The shaman will chant whatever. So I am sure there's some sort of connection between sound wave, vibration, getting the mind focused, and then, even when you guys talk about the kaleidoscope, a lot of times, like right as you're about to have your breakthrough into the DMT world or whatever, people talk about these geometric shapes or whatever, and then they're off. Yeah. So like something is going on there. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
and I listen to a ton of psychedelic music too. It's a big thing for me. So one of my biggest genres that I love to listen to on a regular basis is psychedelic trance. And it gives me that kind of effect as well, where I see a lot of kaleidoscopic and geometric shapes in my head when I'm listening to it. And that's also what's commonly depicted on the album covers and for like the promotional material.
Okay.
Yeah. And a very common drug that is taken in that scene is DMT, as well as psilocybin and other other drugs, other psychedelics. And one thing I wanted to comment on for Sori, what you were talking about with liking the vocals and having the female vocals, a lot of doom metal actually has contrasting vocals, because doom metal is heavier and drop tuned usually, and it's not uncommon for doom metal bands to have a vocalist that has a much higher register, and so they'll oftentimes have someone that has like is a soprano or something doing vocals. And well, usually a little bit lower than a soprano, but right around that range. And so it provides the contrast, and that contrast is what a lot of people like with doom metal, is hearing the vocals that are much higher register than what the actual the key of the song is in, or the octave the song is in. And it just kind of provides that contrast, provides a variation that is pleasant to a lot of people's ears. So bands like Candlemass and Black Sabbath with both vocalists, right? With Ronnie James Dio. Ronnie James Dio is lower register than Ozzy Osbourne is, but he was still oftentimes singing in a higher register than the octave of the song, or one octave up from the song. And so you had this heavier drop tuned melody going on, and then these higher vocals that contrast it.
They do it so well. So good. What did you give this song?
This one's I'm going between an 8.9 and a 9.1. 9.
We said we were going to be stricter on scoring.
Oh, I know, but I really enjoyed it.
I know, me did too.
I
did too. I did too.
Sound like Cookie Monster.
Me like
We like
And I started to
cookies.
talk like Orion. I yike it.
I yike it.
I yike. Was it yike?
Yike. I yike it.
What'd you give it, Z?
Man, this song was an easy, like, I want to give it a 10, but there's another song on the album that I think may have beaten it out for me. So it's a tough one. If I were to use like your scoring, I'd probably put it around like a 9.8, I'd say. Like really, really edging really close to 10. But there's another song on there that I think would sort of take the 10 for me, and we'll get to that one eventually.
The big homie Middle Earth gives it a 10. A socket 10. Pretty sure he meant to say solid 10.
I think socket works well. I think that
I'm gonna give it
should be the new rating system.
I'm gonna give it a socket 9.4, a 9.4.
All right.
Really strong. Okay,